Yeah, a very warm welcome. This is the first in what is going to be a series of calls, and it's all designed to speak specifically about Ingres and Actian X. In the first call, there'll be another call for Open Road and also Actian Vector, and also a focus on services and some Data Connect stuff later down the road as well. Thank you very much. So those are all the next calls there. One or two of them might change slightly, but we will keep you up to date. Again, these sessions are designed to keep you up to date with everything that's going on with Actian and all of the products, because there's been a huge demand for these calls. And this one today, Actian X and Ingres specific. And if you do want any further information beyond this call, or you'd like to speak one-to-one about your product strategy or anything like that, we can arrange it following this call. But on the call, we've got Emma McGrattan, who's our Global SVP of Engineering, Alex Hanshaw, our VP of Engineering, and Peter Lydon. Many of these guys, these names you'll know. You probably heard them speak before at Actian events. And again, if there's anything that you do want to ask specifically, please enter it into the chat window, and we'll try and get through everything as quickly as we can at the end of this call. So I'll get straight into the first segment, which is Alex and his product update and roadmap.
Welcome to the Actian X and the Ingres roadmap session. My name is Alex Hanshaw. I'm the Vice President of Engineering responsible for Actian X, Ingres and Open Road. Today's agenda: first, I'd like to go through a product level set so that we understand the distinction between Actian X and Ingres. This will be followed by a high level view of the product roadmap and the release schedule for our next release. After that, I'll be discussing some of the new features that will be in the 11.2 releases. The new feature section will focus on the business problems we aim to solve and or the business capabilities we are providing, as opposed to a technical walkthrough of the features. Later sessions in this series will cover these features at the technical level. Ingres is an enterprise class relational database with a proven track record. As with most relational databases, Ingres provides a row-based implementation that is still the tool of choice for most transactional workloads. The contents of this dotted line box show the product Ingres, which only contains one execution engine, the Ingres execution engine. This engine is essential to your transactional workloads, and Actian continues to develop new features in this transactional engine to meet your OLTP business needs. Ingres as a product continues to be supported on Solaris Spark, Solaris AMD, AIX, HP Itanium and VMS Itanium. Relational databases typically hit limits, the volumes of data, the performance that can be achieved once data volumes grow, and so the benefits of a columnar database capable of high-speed operational analytics and much faster reporting become desirable. Rather than investing in a separate analytics stack, Actian X provides a single implementation in which transactional workloads continue to be processed in the Ingres execution engine using exactly the same connection methods and syntax as Ingres, whilst operational analytics and fast reporting are handled using Vector's X100 execution engine. Connection methods and syntax are all identical for both types of workload. The only difference is the table type used in the create table statements. So Actian X is an enterprise-class hybrid database, seamlessly combining all of the capabilities of Ingres with the record-breaking speeds of Vector's columnar database engine. Actian X is available on 64-bit Linux and 64-bit Windows, and is the upgrade path for Ingres on these two platforms. The additional hybrid capabilities allow us to not only create OLTP applications and analytic applications, but also to create hybrid applications. These hybrid applications can take advantage of the ability of Actian X to perform joins between our analytics tables and our OLTP tables. You might think this roadmap slide is a little unusual because it also covers past releases. This has been done deliberately because I wanted to emphasize the ongoing investment in our Ingres customer base. In March 2017, we added Vector's X100 engine to Ingres on Linux and Windows to provide our Ingres customers with hybrid capabilities. From both a functional and value perspective, this was a significant investment. In Actian X 11.0, Ingres customers on Linux and Windows upgraded to 11.0 and received all of the new Ingres execution engine features, such as 3D geospatial data types, and for the same price got all of the analytics capabilities of Vector rolled into the same product. Over the course of 2017, we rolled out the equivalent Ingres ports on Solaris Spark, Solaris AMD, AIX, HP Itanium and VMS Itanium. In April 2019, we delivered an Actian X only release, Ingres Actian X 11.1. This release provided hybrid join capabilities to customers to join their OLTP and OLAP data, providing near real-time operational analytics and fast reporting capabilities. As we look forward to the next releases, we can see that Linux and Windows platforms, that's a new release every 2 years. For many customers, frequent upgrades are not desirable. That said, business requirements are evolving even for tried and tested transactional applications, so it's important to roll out new features that meet these evolving business needs. The need for stronger, better security features, for example. With this in mind, we continue to roll out Ingres releases on a 3 to 4 year release cycle and patch features into existing releases when they are urgently required by our customers. Over the course of 2021, we'll be releasing Actian X 11.2 on Linux and Windows and Ingres 11.2 on our other supported platforms. So here's the target GA date for Actian X 11.2 and Ingres 11.2 across the ports that we support. We are more than happy to provide early release builds for customers to put these ports through their own automated test beds so that we can ensure the final GA release provides a problem-free upgrade. Anyone interested in early access can request this either directly through engineering or through sales or your support contacts. For our HP Itanium and VMS Itanium customers, Ingres 11.2 will be the terminal Itanium releases, as the Itanium hardware will hit end of support in 2025. HP have not provided an exit strategy for its customers, so they are likely to face a move to Linux. On the plus side, such a move would allow these customers to take advantage of the hybrid capabilities of Actian X. VMS Itanium customers are likely to find it much harder, if not impossible, to move away from VMS, especially for their VMS applications. To protect their investment, Actian has been working closely with VSI, who are developing a new release of VMS for the x86 platform. Post 11.2, we'll be looking at an Ingres port of VMS on x86. So now we move into the section in which we're going to discuss new features. All of the features discussed here are available in both Actian X 11.2 and Ingres 11.2. With the introduction of GDPR, the importance of data security should not be underestimated. If you are in any doubt about the importance of data security, take a look at some of the biggest fines that have resulted from GDPR since its inception. Google will fine 50 million euros for violations relating to the collection and processing of personal data. A technical glitch at Hens and Moritz that allowed every single employee full access to a network drive for 2 hours led to a 35.2 million euro fine. Think about that. Their own employees saw data they should not have had access to for a period of 2 hours, and it cost them 35.2 million euros in GDPR fines. Dynamic data masking or column masking provides improved security by allowing data to be partially masked or hidden with replacement values, or with a calculated view of the value to be presented to unprivileged users. A great example is a customer credit card data. Not all users need to be able to see a customer's full credit card number, but having access to the last 4 digits is useful for verification purposes. With column masking built into the DBMS, we can reduce the application costs by putting masking controls and policies in a single central repository rather than being distributed over multiple applications. This not only reduces the cost, but also improves security, because an unmasked value is never presented to the application unless it is for a privileged user. As such, there are fewer attack vectors for hackers to try to access the sensitive data. Column masking is just one of the areas where Actian is helping customers to secure their data and reduce their risk of falling foul of significant GDPR fines. For a technical walkthrough of this feature and other security features, please visit the Actian Academy. There's a link provided in this slide. Encrypted data can still be attacked from multiple vectors, whether hackers try to compromise weak passwords or fall back on brute force attacks and/or dictionary attacks. It is sometimes possible to compromise encrypted data. For many industries, there will be minimum standards requirements with regards to the strength or characteristics of the encryption algorithms that are in use. Organizations working in the field of medical research will hold vast amounts of highly sensitive data. It is vital that every precaution is taken to protect that data. Whilst data may be encrypted already, it is important to understand any potential weaknesses that might make it easier for hackers to gain access to your data. Most encryption algorithms make use of block ciphers in which blocks of data are encrypted one after the other. The algorithms use the previous block as a seed for the encryption of the current block to make it harder to crack the encryption. For the first block, there is no previous block, so a known initialization vector is used. Whilst the access to the initialization vector is not enough to crack the encryption, using the same initialization vector all of the time makes it easier for hackers. We've added the ability for users to specify their own initialization vectors whenever they use our encryption routines. Using different initialization vectors makes it significantly harder for hackers to crack the encryption algorithm and therefore provides a much higher level of protection for your sensitive data. In today's IT ecosystems, the need to be able to move data between applications and databases is a requirement, not an option. JavaScript Object Notation, or JSON, provides a simple, lightweight, human-readable solution to that business need. Think XML, but better. With significantly smaller payloads, JSON has lower bandwidth requirements than XML, while still supporting all of your data exchange needs. JSON continues to grow in popularity, with questions on Stack Overflow relating to JSON now far exceeding those of XML. It is widely used in web application development, and this is in no small part to the wide range of applications, operating systems, and third-party application support for JSON. There's a good chance that your own applications are already making use of JSON. DBMS support for JSON allows payloads to be sent directly to the DBMS for storage and/or processing. The ability to pull apart a JSON payload on the DBMS means that JSON pre-processing to extract fields from within a JSON payload for insertion into the database can now be done on the server, reducing your application processing overheads and reducing your application development costs. Actian Academy has a short training video that covers the JSON implementation, and this can be accessed through the community portal or directly through the link shown. With operational analytics and fast reporting, users expect to be able to access real-time or near real-time data. They expect to be able to create their own reports on the fly and get answers quickly. In a production system, ad hoc queries submitted by business users could overload the system with new untested reports that query and retrieve vast amounts of data. This could cause CPU and I/O bottlenecks and freeze out other critical parts of the system. Imagine the impact of losing a few milliseconds on every financial trading system because of a rogue query consuming 100% CPU. Workload management provides a safety net, allowing administrators to put controls into place to protect critical operations from untested ad hoc queries. You may have key customers that need to be given greater access to resources based on the service or contract agreements you have with them. Higher restrictions may allow you to establish a more scalable, free or reduced rate offering of your services. In an Inc.com article, Jeff Barrett said up to 73% of company data is unused for analytics. With more than half your data being ignored, that represents a significant loss of insight and opportunity for your business. This isn't just about big data analytics. Operational analytics are equally important. How can you spot the trends in your customer spending or customer churn if you don't analyze your transactional data? Pivot tables provide a different perspective into your existing data, allowing you to maximize the value of the data you already have. By reorganizing, summarizing, and analyzing your data, you can gain insights that provide opportunities for your business. I've included a small example in which we are comparing year-on-year sales totals by country. It's a simple case, but hopefully it gets you thinking about the possibilities for your business. Just as good statistical data enables you to make better decisions, good statistics enable our query optimizer to make better decisions when trying to create an efficient query plan. For business owners, the query plan is irrelevant. What's important is the fact that slow DBMS performance may mean that your business is no longer meeting its SLAs, or customers are leaving your site without completing a purchase because of delays loading data. Without statistics, a DBMS is forced to make assumptions about the distribution of your data, and invariably those assumptions will be wrong and lead to poor performance. AutoStats takes care of this problem. Whenever the database engine sees a query access a table that does not have statistics, the AutoStats thread is asked to build in-memory statistics for that table so that the next time you access the same table, we can provide you with the performance you need to meet your SLAs and other business needs. We've also added the ability for the in-memory statistics to be permanently saved so that they persist over a restart. Business users always want more, better capabilities, faster results. The pressure on IT departments to deliver more never seems to go away. In the database world, one of the solutions to this requirement is for DBAs to make use of stored procedures. By moving processing into the DBMS, they get better performance, higher productivity, ease of use, and increased scalability. But users still want more. To help with that problem, Actian has extended the capabilities of its stored procedures to include go-to label, end loop when, and exception handling. This allows our existing customers to move more of their processing out of their applications and into stored procedures. In a happy coincidence, it also makes it easier for people to migrate away from our more expensive competitors. I've already spoken about the benefits of moving your processing into the DBMS with stored procedures, but there's always something that the DBMS just can't do. Until now, user-defined functions allow you to extend the capabilities of the DBMS so that any algorithm that is required by your business can be implemented within a user-defined function. Classification is a fundamental problem in machine learning and statistics. Given an input set, a classification model can make a prediction and assign each data sample to one of several predefined classes. Whether you're using logistic regression or decision trees, the algorithm can be defined in a UDF and then used in DBMS queries as a database procedure. Another example, algorithmic stock trading. The rules that determine the time to buy or sell shares based on the stock price, whether that price is a 50 or 200-day average, can be built into a UDF and again become part of your queries and server-side processing. This eliminates the need to send data to your application for processing before a decision is made and saves time and may literally pay dividends. UDFs can also be used to make it easier to migrate away from more expensive DBMS vendors. When their SQL syntax does not match the ANSI standard, SQL UDFs can be used to reduce the cost of application rewrites, allowing you to save money in the long term by consolidating your database requirements with Actian. We support Java, Python, and SQL UDFs. These capabilities are currently considered a development feature, not fully baked for production use as yet. Python itself has poor containerization capabilities, and so the content of Python UDFs has to be carefully controlled. We're looking for customers to actively work with us to harden this feature for future production use. So hopefully this gives you a good overview of some of the new features and the business value that's coming with Actian X 11.2 and Ingres 11.2. Thank you very much for your time today. I hope you've enjoyed the presentation.
I hope everyone found that really useful and very informative. If there's anything that anyone would like to delve into in greater detail, please reach out to myself and we can arrange the appropriate calls and get you the appropriate information. Right now, we're going to go straight over to John Barron from the Irish Revenue Commissioners with his use case. So hopefully John is here and can hear us.
Yeah. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Thanks, John.
Many of you on the call will be very familiar with the Irish Revenue and our use of Ingres over the years. And I just thought it'd be useful just to start with kind of our IT mission statement within the organization is to enable revenue achieve its goals through the provision of secure and reliable ICT. And there are two key words, secure, and it was interesting in the last session, there are some of the enhancements are around security on the Ingres side, and reliable ICT. So we need a good, reliable database because that underpins pretty much all of our systems. So can you advance there, Pradeep, please? So just to set some context, so revenue are the equivalent of HMRC. So we're the tax and customs body with the responsibility for the collection of taxes and customs duties in Ireland. We have about 6,500 staff, and despite the COVID epidemic in 2020, we collected almost 71 billion euros in 2020. So a fairly significant contribution to the economy in terms of collecting the money needed to run it. And within that, ICT is a key enabler for us. And we have a complex, heterogeneous environment, but Ingres is still very much at the heart of our core systems. We started using it back around 1993, and it does underpin the national tax collection system. And that's no small issue. It is a huge part of what we do and hugely important for the Irish economy. It continues to serve us very well. And just in terms of some figures, and one of the lads pulled these for me, like our main database is 2.3 terabytes in size with over 1,500 tables, the largest of which contains approximately 1.7 billion rows. So it's large scale stuff we're doing in Ingres, and this is all providing pretty much sub-second responses to our systems. Traditionally, Ingres has run on the Solaris stack for us, but as Oracle are now effectively sunsetting Solaris, we're currently in the middle of upgrading to Ingres 11 on Linux, and that is now going to become, Linux is going to become our operating system of choice. So can we move on, please? So one of the key features of revenue systems, which are underpinned by Ingres and indeed Open Road, and you can see some Open Road screens there, is that we operate what we call an integrated tax processing system. So it's a single customer view. And that was a major body of work we undertook in the early to mid-90s to consolidate all of the tax systems into one single customer view. And then all of the core tax processing operates on that single view of the customer. So that allows us to have very good customer service offerings, and indeed from a revenue perspective to have very good compliance activities, which obviously is a key thing in terms of revenue. Because we've got this consolidated view, it also allows us to provide very, very good business intelligence capability and analytics, which, as you can imagine, in a revenue type organization, is very important in terms of detecting the bad guys and the people who don't want to play ball with us and people who are not maybe doing what they should be doing. So that underpinning is all powered by Ingres, and therefore, like it's really critical to our core business. Can we move on, please? And I suppose increasingly, like all organizations now, we've an extensive online presence, and that's 24/7 by 365. Obviously, over the last 2-3 years, we've been heavily engaged in upgrading our custom systems in particular because of a word that starts with B and ends in exit, which we won't go into, but that's a very important part of our offering, and that has to be available and fully enabled at all times. But we have a big focus now on digital services for customers and making it easier for people to pay their taxes. We have the Revenue Online service, which again uses Ingres at the back of it. Our My Account services for, PAYE type customers. And a lot of our customs is facilitated by business-to-business web services. And again, this is a fairly, as you can imagine, a fairly complex set of systems, but Ingres is slap bang in the middle of them. And some of the things that we've done to enable that are to bring in things like mandatory e-filing to kind of force people to go down that route. But again, because we've got this consolidated view, it gives customers a full view of their tax record. We're increasingly rolling out mobile aware and phone type apps for our PAYE workers, and that's where we see the future lying. If we can move on, please. And one of the big pieces of work that we've done in the recent past is a modernization of the whole PAYE environment. So that's the pay as you earn. We developed what we call real-time PAYE, working very closely with the payroll software business. And now PAYE is embedded fully into the payroll system. So as a company runs its payroll, which all companies have to run, basically the system talks to our system and sends us effectively a copy of everybody's payslip in real time. So we receive about 20,000 pay files a day. Some of them are very small, small businesses with 10 or 20 employees, and some of them are quite large with 50, 60, 70,000 employees, particularly in the public sector. And as you can see in the diagram there, the traditional tax record ends up in Ingres. We are using things like in-memory databases like Hazelcast and Hadoop to store the JSON objects that are being processed in real time. But the core record still goes into Ingres, And that gives us great capability in terms of running analytics and business intelligence type suites, as well as keeping that central single customer view alive, because that exists in our Ingres environment. So again, if we can move on. And you can see here, the diagram may be a little bit small on your screens, but effectively we take copies of that transactional system and we make that available to our business intelligence suite with a combination of other tooling in there. We are using other databases and increasingly non-SQL databases. But at the core on the left-hand side there, you can see there's basically copies of the core processing systems, and there's dashboards and ad hoc querying capability against them in a data warehousing environment. So Ingres sits as part of our data warehouse, and indeed that's where we potentially see some opportunities maybe for ActianX in that space. Again, if we can move on, please. And just wanted to cover off this move to Linux. So Solaris is heading towards end of life. So all of our existing Ingres databases will need to be migrated across. Now, that's not a small piece of work for us. It's quite a major undertaking from us. And we're undertaking some proof of concepts to work through the issues. The target is Ingres 11.x on Red Hat 8. And things like our COBOL, what we're talking, our batch processes which run in COBOL, we'll continue to run them on Solaris for the moment, but connecting to Ingres on Linux. In time, we'll be moving the COBOL stuff across to Linux as well. But some of the issues that we are trying to figure out at the moment are things around, what virtualization engines will we use? How do we go about that? What kind of clustering do we need in place, and how will that work? And these are all things we're very familiar with on the Solaris side. And going back to our mission is to provide reliable IT. So business continuity is really important to us. So we have to understand how this operates in a Linux environment and how Ingres behaves in that Linux environment, because this is at a scale that we've not done anything before on the Linux side. Copying databases, cloning things so that we can have them available for our BI, for example. These are all the types of issues that we're working through at the moment. And in fact, we've had a number of discussions with Actian on this. We also use on the Open Road side, and I know there's a separate discussion in a couple of weeks' time about Open Road, we use what we call 2-tier and 3-tier connectivity to the Ingres database with Open Road. So some of our Open Road connects via Tuxedo services at the moment to the back end, and we have to make sure all of that still works in a Linux environment. So there's some of the challenges that we have, and we're working through them at the moment. We don't foresee any major problems, but that will help us move obviously forward to Ingres 11. We still have a mix. We still have some Ingres 9 out there. We still have some Ingres 10, and we have some Ingres 11. So we have a bit of a hybrid at the moment. We do have quite a number of Ingres installations. So we'd have to ultimately move them all forward onto the Linux environment. So I think that's it. Is there another slide? Yeah, that's it. And so it's open for questions, and I think you're moving into a general Q&A anyway. So thanks very much for your attention. I know that was a very rapid overview, but certainly happy to take any questions, or they can come later if needs be, if people want to have a think about things. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, John. I think what we'll do is if we'll move straight into the Q&A session.
Yeah, so while people have a moment or two to type in their questions, I thought I'd share with you some of the early results that we've had from the ActianX Cloud Deployment Survey that we sent out in December. If you haven't seen a copy of the link to the survey, and we'll make sure to send it out with the materials from today's presentation. But the first question that we asked was, do you have plans to move your Ingres or ActianX deployments to a public cloud? And what you'll see here is that there's a lot of no's, right? So maybe about 30% have plans to move to a public cloud. Of those customers with plans to move to a public cloud, we've got a lot of them have near-term views and near-term requirements in moving that. And then when we ask about which of the clouds that are most popular, it looks like it's Azure is where more than half of our customer base is looking to move to, with then AWS coming second and Google Cloud third. And then the preferred cloud deployment option. So these answers got abbreviated, but the first is to deploy your existing Ingres and ActionX licenses into cloud. So basically a BYOL model, or bring your own license model, moving to the cloud seems to be what most people are planning. The second option here is to use ActionX and Ingres on cloud infrastructure. There you would be able to spin up a version of ActionX or Ingres on the cloud of your choosing. So obviously, given that most of you are looking at Azure, we'd probably prioritize that, then AWS, and then Google. And then the third option here in terms of popularity would be to buy a fully managed service, whereby Actian manages the Ingres and ActionX infrastructure, provides things like patching, upgrades, takes responsibility for backup, restore, and so on. And that has a smaller level of interest. I think this is a picture that's going to change over the next 12 months. I believe, and we've certainly seen it in other parts of the business, that the move to home and remote working has accelerated a lot of the plans to move to cloud. So we'll see how it plays out. But if you could take the time to fill in the answers to the survey, it would really help us in planning out exactly how we prioritize these. So there'll be a sequencing on which cloud platforms we deliver on, exactly what we deliver on, and that sequencing will be dictated by the input that you provide to us.
Great stuff. I can see one question in the chat. Emma, do you want to handle the questions first of all?
Yeah, sure. So there were a bunch of people asked whether or not the slides will be made available, and I think you should have seen the answer that yes, we will make our slides available. John, we'll check in with you and make sure that it's okay before we distribute your slides at all. But yeah, we will make the slides available, and then the recording that you heard today of the presentation of the roadmap will be available to you through the Actian Academy, as Alex said, as he was presenting. We'll also send you a copy of the link to the survey about cloud deployment of Ingres and ActionX. And the next question that we have in the chat window was, do you plan to support software-aware consistent backups, right? So net backup as an example, and yes, we're actually putting quite a bit of work into right now, figuring out a kind of a next generation backup strategy for all of our database products, and as part of that, we'll be looking at other technologies to make sure that we're able to provide for fast and consistent backups, and then we're also looking at the restore and the granularity on restore, and being able to provide a lot more options around that. So yeah, backup and restore is an area where we're making quite a bit of investment. The next question is, will licensing be made simpler for cloud deployments? At present, we need to log on to the Actian website to download a license key each time. We'll still have to do this each time we spin up a new environment in the cloud, and we are going to make that simpler. That's a project that we're taking on, and it's part of the reason why we needed to understand exactly what the plans are for cloud deployment, right? So if BYOL was only 1% of the audience, then we would be prioritizing the managed services and all the microservices that are required to build around that. But since BYOL seems to be the most popular plan in moving your ActionX and Ingres footprints to the cloud, we will be taking a look at licensing and the user experience, and just making sure that that's as smooth as possible. So the next question is, could I install X, so that's Actian X, over an Ingres 11 instance on platforms that support Actian X? Can I treat it as an in-place upgrade? So the answer is yes. Ingres 11, well, I guess that would be in Ingres 10.2 to Actian X is a straightforward upgrade. And then once you've done the upgrade, then we can talk to you, or you can talk to us about how you take advantage of all of the new capabilities provided in ActionX, and how to use those columnar-based tables that Alex talked about.
Then there's a final question at the bottom.
Oh, I'm not seeing it.
No, me either.
Okay, not to worry. If that's all the questions, then thank you ever so much for everyone for bearing with us. and attending the call today. Like I said, this is being recorded, so the session will be posted very soon. We'll also make sure that we give you the details of the next call, which is Monday the 1st of February, which will focus on Open Road. Bit of a similar format as well. So there'll be the latest Open Road updates from the manager of that section, Chris Clark. There'll be Capita will be presenting their customer use case, and there'll also be a Q&A with the experts as well. So at that point, I'll bring the call to a close. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you on the next call. Thank you.